Hey everybody, I'm Mark Menezes and this is Lunch at Made. Welcome to another episode. We have two guests today. We have Jenn O'Farrell and Damien O'Farrell, husband and wife team, Riverside natives that are joining us. Going to start the conversation off with Damien and then Jenn will be here shortly, but thanks so much for coming out.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So the first question, the one I'm usually most excited to jump into is what are we having for lunch?
We are having Backstreet.
Backstreet.
Our very favorite lunch places, yeah.
Where is that at?
That's right over here off of Nelson and Brockton. So
Okay.
A little place, been there for years. Best sandwiches.
Awesome. So what are we getting? What'd you order?
I always get the special on sheep hurders.
Okay.
And I think Jenn is getting the half French dip.
Half French dip. Okay. Awesome.
Both delicious.
So as we're waiting for lunch, before Jenn gets here, we'll jump in conversation. But I know, were you born in Riverside? I know you went to school here, right?
So I was born and raised.
Yeah.
My parents were living here. I was born in a different hospital, but born and raised in Riverside. Jenn moved here when she was in late grade school.
Okay.
So before junior high.
Okay. And then I know right now you're working with Parkview Legacy Foundation,
That's
right? A couple years been doing that?
So it started in March. Well, it actually launched in July 2019. I came on in March 2019.
Okay. And just lean a little bit closer to that.
Sure.
Just walk in a little closer.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit about that, what your role is and what you guys do.
Yeah, so for Parkview Legacy Foundation, I have the privilege of being its first CEO for the organization, and the organization's mission is to advance the equitable probability of wellness through social determinants of health. So
Okay.
a little bit of a mouthful, I can go in a little bit more to that, but it's a healthcare conversion. So it previously existed as a foundation serving Parkview Hospital, which is a nonprofit hospital that sold in 2019 to a for-profit operator.
Okay.
And so essentially when that happens for nonprofit hospitals, their proceeds, everything that belongs to them, has to still benefit the community, can't benefit a private owner, right? So that often will go into a foundation like ours, community benefit organization. And then the intent of that organization is worked out with the Attorney General. And so ours was on social determinants of health, and it's a very wide bucket. But essentially all those things that go into our lives that make it more likely or not that we can invest and have whole and healthy lives.
Right.
So maybe not direct medical care, but things like housing, things like social mobility and not being stuck in poverty, things like having access to healthcare and the wherewithal to invest proactively in our healthcare, as well as just the civic infrastructure. Right. So those are the sorts of things that we're focused on.
Okay, so it's only a couple years old then.
Just a couple years old. Yep, we're still kind of in a ramp-up phase, waiting to see exactly what sorts of funds that we'll have in our possession to invest into the community, but doing a lot of bridge building and partnership work.
Yeah, that's great. So how did the transition happen? Because you were with Path of Life before. Mm-hmm. So what did that transition look like?
Yes. So I had heard about the sale for a while and kind of was tracking it, just interested to see what was going to happen in our community. And then somebody had actually tapped me on the shoulder and said, you should really look at the bylaws because they were so kind of wide open and really allowed for the organization to invest upstream into systemic issues, right? And to really look at root causes, which has always been a passion of mine. And I love what we were doing over at Path of Life. So Path of Life is an agency that provides homeless services, shelter, housing, behavioral health care, employment services in Riverside County. Loved the work, had worked with great people, and at the same time felt like we were constantly working with folks at the end of an issue, right? That we're dealing with the repercussions of a more systemic problem in our society, and there was just so much work to be done just to take care of the number of people that were in that situation. There was very little time to invest upstream in solutions, right? And I didn't really see a lot of organizations being able to do that, and thought I would scare our board away when I interviewed for the position and said, here's the sorts of things I think that we need to do and the sorts of things that we really need to tie these resources up for in terms of equity and wellness in our community. But I didn't scare them away. They offered me the job, and so felt like I just had to take it. And that was back in early 2019.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so great. I mean, it seems like whether it's our work or whether we're working in nonprofits or just our personal life, trying to be proactive versus reactive, like the more we can do that, the better off we're going to be. But we absolutely need the reactive side because we're not going to catch everything. And that's not going to happen. So So you went to CBU, Cal Baptist,
I did,
right?
Yeah.
What did you study there?
So I graduated in 2000 and I studied, my degree is in liberal studies with an emphasis in behavioral sciences.
Okay. It's crazy how much that school has just blown up.
It sure has.
Yeah,
different school than from when I graduated, for sure.
Yeah, I say it all the time. I left for 20 years, went to school back east and came back.
Yeah.
So I left in 2001. It was a much different school, even then, than what it is now.
Yeah, still, I mean, it grew a lot even at the time that I was there, but the growth has just been incredible since then too. Yeah,
and did you guys, were you already together then? Did you meet at school or there before? Or how did that happen?
So we actually met in the summer between, I think it was Jenn's freshman and sophomore year. She was actually going to school at a school up north called Simpson University, or Simpson College up in Redding, California. She was just down for the summer. We met, just really digged each other, and thought, let's try a long distance thing and see how that works. And then she ended up, not because of me, but because of other things, moving back down after her sophomore year. So that just kind of sealed the deal for us.
I'm sure you had something to do with that.
Yeah, no, she really didn't move down for me, but I certainly benefited from it. So.
Yeah. Well, that's a good segue. Jen, if you want to jump on in, you could just right here.
Hi.
Hey, good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Thanks so much for coming out. I've heard tons about you, and as I've been doing different video content for the last few years about Riverside, your guys' names come up all the time. So.
Well, I'm telling our dating stories, so this is
fun. And then just try to be as close to that as you can whenever we talk. So you were at school up north, and that was what you were already a sophomore, you said? And then you came to CBU, you transferred? Or?
I did.
Okay. And what were you studying?
History and social science.
Okay. And then did you guys always know you were both going to, I mean, at that point, did you already know, or when did you know you were going to go in the nonprofit world?
Oh, I didn't know that at that point. So I had started at La Sierra University in the pre-med program. The plan was to transfer over to Loma Linda and that whole bit. And then just discovered I didn't like science enough to feel really integrous about going into the medical field.
Yeah.
Loved the idea of helping people. So I transferred to CBU. I actually got my degree in liberal studies because I thought, well, if I can't figure it out, I can, not that this is a bad profession, but I know I can teach and I would really enjoy that. That's a really important profession in our community. And then kind of stumbled into nonprofit work through a church that I was associated with at the time when I graduated.
So what church was that? Keep talking. I'm just going to adjust this for you.
The church was Bridges Christian Fellowship here in Riverside.
Okay.
We had actually, Jenn and I met at Victoria Community Church, which is now the Grove.
Okay.
And then the college pastor went on to work with another church, and then he brought me on as their youth pastor.
Okay.
And that was right after I graduated.
Yeah, I was youth pastor back in the late 90s up in Running Springs, really small church. So did that for a little while. So how about you with the nonprofit world and figuring out that's what the path was going to be?
We both ended up integrating into the education track. We ended up working for Riverside Unified, in different educational formats, and then just realized man, I want to be a part of maybe why youth students with great potential, great skill sets have the tools, but they're just struggling. And so how do I get involved in the other side of their life? And then that's what brought me to the nonprofit sector. And
you for, was it 6-7 years with Big Brothers Big Sisters, right?
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's up the Inland Empire? Or okay. Because I know that's obviously a national organization.
Yeah, so all local, serving Riverside, San Bernardino counties.
Okay. And how did you first get hooked up with them?
Well, that actually was a journey from another kind of nonprofit sector. So I had the privilege of starting Riverside County's Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force, building out victim services, and just kept seeing with the types of youth that were being victimized by trafficking was man, the common thread in many of these kids' lives is that they don't have a positive adult, they don't have a positive role model, and so their life is becoming, a different trajectory. And so started seeing, how do we intervene in young people's lives, and mentoring just continued to come up in research. And I was like, well, how do we do this? And serendipitously got a call from Big Brothers Big Sisters on a kind of a headhunt of, we're interested in you opening up the doors for a local chapter.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's such an important thing that's, I think, so commonly overlooked. Over the years, the last 30 years, I've worked with teenagers, done a lot of different things, and I've heard a lot of what you say, where they just maybe didn't have somebody, to be there, whether it was guidance or say, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that, maybe you should do this. But then I've heard so many positive stories too of well, there was this person, it was this teacher, or it was this person that I can look back, especially if they're successful and whatever their venture is, and they can say, you know what, I can go back to my 5th grade teacher and he did this and this and that really changed my life.
Exactly.
So I think it's such an important thing to be involved in. So what are what's happening with your organization right now in locally? Like if people wanted to get involved in any way, what's one way they can do that?
Yeah, one way is, I mean, the beauty of Big Brothers Big Sisters is that we are youth-centered. We are one-to-one, so every young person is matched with their specific mentor, but we're volunteer-driven. So we can only serve kids based on the capacity of volunteers coming to be a mentor. So the more people that can say, hey, I've got a few hours a month, I can connect with a young person and can give them the tools and just walk alongside. Yeah, that's what we need.
What about, are there any areas of someone that has a heart for that, but for whatever reason they don't feel comfortable being that person? Is there any other area they can get involved, or it's behind the scenes, or any other needs that the organization has?
No, I think whether it be coming in and doing kind of panel conversations based on their career and experience to be able to inspire others. It could be part of a training series that we put together. So there are other ways that people can join in, and then they can maybe recruit a friend to be a mentor.
Okay. And I've always been intrigued in that organization, and I've never been up close to it and see how it works. But I'm curious, when you connect two people in a relationship, how long does that relationship typically last?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure it's all over the board. But
it is. So our initial ask is really, the research behind is a minimum of 1 year. 1 year. Okay. So we know that that's like a sweet spot. But when we see, I mean, we have our mentees that become, within the wedding of their mentor's life, and they become a lifelong friendship. So we have those that go 10, 15 and are still friends post our program because we've built a great relationship together. I would say on average, so statistically within our program, we're about 2.5, 3 years.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. And what's the age range of the kids that are in the program?
6 to 18.
6 to 18, okay.
So from the itty bitties all the way through, and we've made a commitment to support our young people through kind of that transitional age through 18 to 24 years of age. Let's ensure that they have a good career. Let's ensure that they have the support and their mentors already by their side. So why stop the process? Let's just let them succeed as young adults.
And practically, what does that relationship usually look like? Are they like certain times a week, they're meeting, connecting? I mean, now with social media and everything and the digital world we live in, I'm sure it's changed what that looks like, but what does it typically look like?
Yeah, I mean, so we ask for, kind of the simplest is if you think 3, 2, 1. So for 3 hours, twice a month for a year. That's kind of the
in person
boiled down.
Is ideal.
Desirably in person. We actually have created a whole college bigs program where we have UCR, Cal State, San Bernardino, UCR students, CBU students that are mentoring virtually a high school student. So they meet on a virtual basis, and it's great because those are two native to the digital world, and so having great mentoring friendships all on a virtual platform. Yeah.
So what about you, Damien, with your organization, people that wanted to learn more or get involved, and what would there be a path for them to do that?
Well, so there's a lot. It really boils down to our areas of focus and what our community needs, right? So there's no necessarily direct volunteering opportunities, but you can certainly support the things that are important to our community, right? One of our focus areas is housing stability, because everything in our lives depends upon having a stable place to lay our head, call home, get up and start our day in the morning, right? And we are in a housing crisis. There are so many folks in our community that are not housing stable and or homeless, and we have to address this. So support the building of housing in our community and in our neighborhoods. It absolutely has to happen. The other thing that they can do if they're a part of an organization is join a movement called IE Rise, which is the Inland Empire Roadmap for an Inclusive and Sustainable Economy. It's really serving as a hub of hubs for organizations, initiatives, cohorts, collaboratives to come together and talk and learn about what one another are doing, do some collective impact work, plan for a long-term better future, and then organize for immediate needs. And then we're going to be rolling out in November a study that we helped sponsor with some financial partners that is doing the first ever deep dive into the Inland Empire region called Portrait of Inland Empire 2021. That's evaluating how our people are doing in terms of their income, their education, and their health outcomes. And that is designed to help us figure out what sorts of levers do we need to pull to really move the needle in terms of our area's overall what's known as Human Development Index. So inviting us to their organizations to make a presentation on those results and joining with us on the suggestions that are going to be made from our community to move the needle are all things that people can do.
Yeah, and collaboration is so important. I mean, when you have different individuals or groups or organizations all over Riverside or the Inland Empire, so many of them have the same goal and the objective. And I've seen so many times when two people or two groups can come together and it's like, wow, we can do this better. Or
That's right.
I don't need to do this part that we're not good at anymore because you're good at that. And if we, you know, at least work together and have the same, you know, communicate, then yeah. So
well, I think
so
even
important.
to your point of how volunteers, if they can't be a mentor, how can they come alongside? And so housing trickles down to our work. So, you know, when we talk about our mentors, they're like, my mentees now moved 7 times this year because of unstable housing and the ability to not have affordable housing available. So if someone wants to volunteer to support housing, that benefits so many families across the board to be able to ensure that we can have kids safely housed.
For sure. Well, incredible what you guys do. Like, I love people that genuinely have a heart to help other people and to make not just their city or their area better, but other people's lives. And like I said, the work I've been doing the last couple of years and different video content, your guys' name came up a lot, very often. And it's like, we need to connect with them. So it's good to finally meet you and see that everything that everyone said is definitely huge. So thanks for taking the time to come out. Do you guys have kids? What does your family look like?
Yep.
Yeah.
So we call it the O Trio. So it's us, our daughter Marley, who's 8 years old, and plus Pickles, which is our dog.
Okay.
That just got added to the family recently. But
what kind of dog?
It's a mini golden doodle.
Oh, okay.
So
those are great.
Just cute little guy.
So you ready to eat?
We're ready to eat.
Okay. I think we're ready to eat. I think the food's here. So remind us again, where is it from and what are we eating?
We are eating Back Street from the Magnolia Center area, so over off of Brockton and Nelson, and I'm having the special on sheepherds.
Which is very good, but the French dip is the number one.
For you.
For me, all right.
Yeah, selfishly, I just wanted to do the show to get free food and try a bunch of new Riverside restaurants. So
that's great. We got a lot of gems.
So, Antonio, you want to let them know that we're ready for the food? So you guys still live in Riverside?
We do.
Yeah.
I live downtown, just
downtown.
at the base of Mount Rubidoux.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love that area.
Yeah.
That's true.
Lived there for just over 9 years and just love the neighborhood, love getting to walk downtown on the weekends and, you know, take walks.
Yeah, I love that area. A friend of mine growing up, they lived right at the base where that one gate is, the gate to, like, if you're to go up, that gate, I don't know what's that called. They're like the house right there on the corner.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so we go there and watch the fireworks and watch Mount Rubidoux go up in flames. Thanks, Timmy. I think we're ready.
You're not supposed to say that.
Watch it not do that.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
I've actually heard of this place, but I've never been there.
Have you never been there?
Okay,
I never have.
so also is the beautiful space of the ambiance. So not only delicious sandwiches.
And they're in right by Magnolia Center?
Yeah, so if you were to go down Brockton here, and just past, there's a McNair's, I think is the car repair shop.
Yep,
just
I know
across
that
the
is.
street from the Brockton Arcade, USKO, and all that.
Yep.
That street. Take
Right
a right,
there, okay.
and it's easy to miss because it's just a house that's been converted, but it was converted a long time ago.
Okay. How long have they been there? You know?
Oh,
Wow.
But
they've been
across
there
from Ursies, if you know Ursies, if
years
you're
and
getting
years.
facials.
Or 60s.
Okay. All right. So you don't have to eat, but I'll take a bite.
Yes, please. But beautiful backyard, beautiful garden area. Nice time to just hang out, relax.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. The bread is so soft and the meat is so tender. Thank you. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Make sure you're following Made on Instagram. Set up your notifications so you know when we go live every Wednesday at noon. And starting this week, all our videos will be put on YouTube and Facebook and every other platform. So you'll be able to see us live every week and you'll be able to see us in other places. So make sure you follow Made_Riverside and make sure you hit that notification bell. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for stopping by.